You don't belong here. The male flight attendant's voice dripped with disgust as he towered over me. Everyone in first class stared, phones out, recording my humiliation. My hands trembled, but in exactly 12 minutes, his smug smile would vanish, when the pilot revealed who really owned this airline. Hey everyone, it's Zoe here. What you're about to hear will make your blood boil, then give you the most satisfying feeling ever. But first, hit subscribe and ring that bell because you'll want to see karma work its magic. I promise the twist in this story, you'll never see it coming. Now, let me take you to the worst and best flight of my life. You don't belong here. Those 4 words still echo in my mind. The male flight attendant's voice dripped with disgust as he towered over me, his perfectly pressed uniform a stark contrast to my faded jeans and worn sneakers. Everyone in first class stared, phones out, recording my humiliation. My hands trembled as I gripped the armrest, but in exactly 12 minutes, his smug smile would vanish, when the pilot revealed who really owned this airline. Let me back up. That morning, I deliberately dressed in my oldest clothes, faded jeans with a small tear at the knee, oversized sweater that had seen better days, and sneakers I'd owned for 5 years. My suitcase, held together with duct tape, my backpack, frayed at the edges. To anyone looking, I was exactly what they'd think, someone who had no business sitting in first class. But that was the point. I'm Zoe Anderson, and I own Skywing Airlines, not manage, not work for, own. Every plane, every seat, every route. And 4 times a year, I do this. I dress like I'm struggling, book a first-class ticket under a common name, and see how my staff treats passengers they think are beneath them. It's not about catching people doing wrong. It's about understanding what real passengers experience when they don't have power, money, or status to protect them. As I boarded Flight 2847 that Tuesday morning, I noticed everything. The gate agent who barely looked up when scanning my ticket, the jetway attendant who stepped aside without a word. And then, as I entered the cabin, I felt it, that shift in energy when people who think they're superior spot someone they believe isn't. The first-class cabin was already half full. Designer handbags sat on pristine seats. Rolex watches glinted in the overhead lights. A woman in a cream pantsuit sipped champagne while scrolling through her phone. A businessman in an expensive grey suit was already on a call, dropping names like he owned the world. His girlfriend, tall, blonde, dripping in jewelry, was setting up her phone on a small tripod. A social media influencer, clearly. I made my way to seat 2A, window seat, second row. As I lifted my taped suitcase toward the overhead bin, I heard the whispers start. How did she afford first class? Maybe she used miles. Or someone else's credit card. I kept my face neutral, but my heart was already racing. This was always the hardest part, staying in character when every instinct screamed to defend myself. I settled into my seat, pulled out a worn paperback book, and waited. That's when he appeared. Derek. I'd seen his employee file before, of course. Senior flight attendant, 8 years with the company, excellent performance reviews. On paper, he was perfect. Tall, impeccably groomed, with the kind of confident smile that passengers usually loved. But the moment his eyes landed on me, that smile vanished. He walked past my seat once, then twice. The third time, he stopped. "Excuse me, ma'am?" His tone was sugar-sweet, but his eyes were cold. I looked up. "Yes." "I need to verify your ticket." He held out his hand expectantly. My ticket was already in the seat pocket, right where it should be, but I pulled it out and handed it to him without protest. He examined it like he was inspecting a counterfeit bill, turning it over, holding it up to the light. Another flight attendant, younger, nervous-looking, approached. "Brandon, come look at this," Derek said, loud enough for nearby passengers to hear. Brandon glanced at the ticket, then at me, then back at Derek. "It looks valid." "Looks can be deceiving." Derek's voice carried across the cabin. This has to be a mistake. Maybe she used someone else's credit card. The businessman, I'd later learn his name was Mr. Harrison, chuckled from across the aisle. His girlfriend, Vanessa, had her phone pointed directly at me. The little red light indicated she was recording. My cheeks burned, but I kept my voice steady. That's my ticket. For this seat. Is there a problem? Derek's jaw tightened. He clearly wasn't used to being questioned. We'll see about that. But he handed the ticket back and walked away, his displeasure radiating like heat. I tried to focus on my book, but the damage was done. Passengers were no longer pretending not to stare. A teenage girl 2 rows back was typing furiously on her phone. An older woman in a purple dress frowned at Derek's back but said nothing. The plane finished boarding, and we pushed back from the gate. As we taxied, Derek began the beverage service. I watched him work his way down the aisle. Champagne, wine, premium orange juice, crystal glasses, warm nuts and ceramic bowls. Genuine smiles and pleasant conversation. Then he reached me. Water. He didn't wait for my answer, just turned and walked away. When he returned, he placed a paper cup, the kind you'd get in economy, on my tray table. Not the crystal glass everyone else had. A paper cup, with barely 4 ounces of water. Mrs. Chen, the older woman in purple across the aisle, noticed. Her frown deepened. The young couple in the row ahead exchanged uncomfortable glances. But most passengers, they looked away. Or worse, they looked entertained. Vanessa whispered something to Mr. Harrison and they both laughed. Her phone was still recording. I sipped my water and said nothing. My throat was tight, and not just from thirst. Even knowing this was temporary, even knowing who I really was, the humiliation still cut deep. And that's when it hit me, like it did every time I did this. This is what powerless people feel every single day. After takeoff, Derek's campaign against me intensified. He made announcements loud enough for everyone to hear. Does anyone need their seating corrected? While staring directly at me. We want to ensure all our premium passengers are comfortable, with heavy emphasis on premium. Mr. Harrison took the bait. Actually, yes, I paid top dollar for the ambience here. Laughter rippled through the cabin. The teenage girl behind me posted something on her phone, and I heard her friends' responses pinging back immediately. Derek approached my seat again, his smile sharp as broken glass. Ma'am, perhaps you'd be more comfortable in economy. We have some lovely seats available. I looked up at him, forcing my voice to stay calm even as it shook. My ticket says seat 2A. Tickets can be obtained in various ways. He let that implication hang in the air. Gasps echoed through the cabin. He'd just accused me of theft, in front of everyone. Mrs. Chen stood up. Young man, this is cruel and unnecessary. Derek turned to her with that same fake smile. Ma'am, please sit down. I'm handling a security issue. A security issue. He'd just called me a security issue. Brandon hovered nearby, looking increasingly uncomfortable, but he said nothing. Just kept his eyes down and his mouth shut. Then Derek's eyes landed on my suitcase in the overhead bin. That is a safety hazard. Before I could respond, he yanked it down. The duct tape tore with a loud ripping sound, and the suitcase fell open. My clothes, old t-shirts, worn jeans, nothing expensive, spilled partially out. The cabin erupted in laughter and pointing. Someone whistled. Vanessa zoomed her camera in, capturing every detail. Please, my voice cracked, and I hated myself for it. That has everything I own. Derek's face showed no mercy. Should have thought about that before sneaking into first class. I gathered my belongings with shaking hands, stuffing them back into the broken suitcase. A little boy across the aisle asked his mother, "Why is that lady crying?" His mother shushed him quickly. I wasn't crying. Not yet, but my eyes burned. Meal service was next. The flight attendants emerged with silver trays, filling the cabin with the aroma of grilled steak and garlic butter. Lobster tail, roasted vegetables, fresh bread. My stomach growled despite my anxiety. Derek served everyone around me. Mr. Harrison got filet mignon. Vanessa chose the lobster. Mrs. Chen received a beautiful pasta dish. The young couple ahead selected their meals with quiet thanks. Then Derek reached me. He placed a small cardboard box on my tray table, the kind they serve in economy. Inside were crackers, a tiny cube of cheese, and a bruised apple. Mr. Harrison nearly spit out his wine laughing. "That's more your speed, sweetheart." Vanessa's live stream chat was going crazy. I could see the reflection of her screen in the window. 50,000 viewers, then 60,000. Comments flooding in, half mocking me, half outraged at what they were witnessing. My hands shook as I opened the crackers. They crumbled immediately, falling onto my jeans. I didn't even try to eat them. Just sat there, staring out the window at the clouds below, trying to remember why I put myself through this. Because people deserve dignity. Because I'd been here before. Because someone had to care enough to change things. 20 minutes later, Derek returned with a tablet. His expression was triumphant. "Ma'am, I need to see your ID and credit card. We have reports of fraudulent ticket purchases." "Reports from who?" I asked quietly. "That's confidential." Mr. Harrison leaned across the aisle. "Just move her already." Some of us paid good money for peace and quiet. Other passengers started chanting. Actually chanting. "Move her! Move her!" Mrs. Chen argued back, her voice rising in my defense, but she was drowned out. The young couple stayed silent, guilt written all over their faces. Derek pulled out his radio. "Captain, we have a situation in first class, requesting your presence." The cabin went dead silent. This was it, the moment everyone expected me to be dragged off in shame. Derek's smirk widened. Vanessa adjusted her phone for the perfect angle. Her live stream had hit 100,000 viewers. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, whispered to myself, "Worth it, always worth it." Mrs. Chen reached across the aisle and grabbed my hand. "Stand your ground, dear." Footsteps approached from the cockpit, heavy, measured, authoritative. The cabin held its collective breath. Even Derek stood straighter, confident in his righteousness. The cockpit door opened. Captain Rodriguez stepped into the cabin. Older, distinguished, with silver at his temples and a serious expression that commanded respect. Every eye in first class locked on to him. He walked directly toward me. The tension was unbearable. Passengers leaned forward. Phones rose. Vanessa's hands trembled with excitement as her live stream count climbed. 200,000, 300,000. Captain Rodriguez stopped at my seat and smiled. "Miss Anderson, I'm so sorry I didn't recognize you earlier." Confusion exploded across the cabin like a bomb. Derek stammered, "Captain, this woman..." Rodriguez cut him off with a raised hand. "This woman is Zoe Anderson, the owner and CEO of Skywing Airlines." Dead silence, then chaos. Derek's face drained of all color. Mr. Harrison choked on his whiskey. Vanessa's phone slipped from her hands, clattering to the floor, the live stream still running. The teenage girl behind me frantically started deleting her posts. Brandon backed away slowly, as if distance might save him. Captain Rodriguez continued, his voice carrying authority. "Ms. Anderson travels incognito 4 times a year to experience what our real passengers experience. To see how our staff treats people when they think no one important is watching." He turned to Derek, his expression hardening. "And I see we have some serious issues to address." Mrs. Chen squeezed my hand, tears streaming down her face. Not sad tears, vindicated tears. I stood slowly. My legs felt weak, but my voice was steady now. Strong. Because this moment, this was why I endured the humiliation. 5 years ago, I began, and every head turned toward me. I was homeless. Gasps echoed through the cabin. I lived in my car. Sometimes in airport terminals, I wore donated clothes and carried everything I owned in a garbage bag. I looked directly at Derek. And one day, a flight attendant, someone exactly like you, humiliated me, threw my belongings on the floor, called security, treated me like I was trash because I looked poor. Derek was shaking now, his earlier confidence completely shattered. That day, I made myself a promise. If I ever had the power, I would make sure no one would ever feel that way on an airline I controlled. I worked 3 jobs, saved every penny, taught myself business, and 5 years ago, I bought this struggling airline specifically to change the culture. I gestured around the cabin, but clearly I still have work to do. The silence that followed was profound. Vanessa's live stream had hit 500,000 viewers. Every word I'd spoken was being broadcast live. I turned to Derek. "You're fired." Effective immediately. He tried to speak. His mouth opened and closed like a fish, but I raised my hand. "Security will escort you off this plane the moment we land. You'll receive your final paycheck, but you will never work for Skywing Airlines again." Then I faced Mr. Harrison. "I know exactly who you are. Harrison Tech Solutions. Your company requested a corporate partnership with us last month. Wanted discounted rates for executive travel." His face went pale. "Consider it permanently denied." Vanessa was crying now, staring at her phone as comments flooded in. Thousands of people condemning her, sharing the video, tagging her employer. "My live stream," she whispered. "Oh God, what have I done?" "Yes," I said quietly. 500,000 people just watched you mock and humiliate someone for entertainment. I hope your followers remember that kindness matters more than content." Then I turned to Mrs. Chen, and my voice softened. "Thank you. Thank you for defending a complete stranger when no one else would." She was sobbing now. "You and your husband fly free with Skywing Airlines. Lifetime. Anywhere we fly." She couldn't even speak, just nodded through her tears. The young couple ahead apologized, their voices small and ashamed. "We should have said something. We're so sorry." "You can say something now," I told them gently. "Be better next time." That's all any of us can do. The little boy who'd asked why I was crying waved at me shyly. I waved back, and finally, I smiled for real. Brandon approached, trembling. "Ms. Anderson, I'm so sorry. I was scared to speak up." I studied him for a long moment. "Fear I understand, but silence enables cruelty. I'm giving you one chance. Mandatory retraining. Prove to me you can be better." Relief flooded his face. "I will. I promise." The plane began its descent. Derek sat in the back galley, head in his hands, his career in ruins. Mr. Harrison and Vanessa avoided all eye contact, but Mrs. Chen kept smiling at me. The little boy colored a picture. I could see him drawing an airplane. When we landed, security was waiting. They escorted Derek off the plane while passengers filmed him, the tables completely turned. He'd wanted to humiliate me, and instead, his own cruelty had been broadcast to the world. I exited with my head high, my taped suitcase under my arm. Captain Rodriguez personally walked me to the terminal. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for caring enough to do this. Thank you for understanding why I have to." 3 months later, I boarded another Skywing flight, again in simple clothes, again looking like someone who might struggle to afford the ticket. But the flight attendant who greeted me, a young woman named Stephanie, smiled warmly. "Welcome aboard. Can I help you with your bag?" She treated everyone that way. The businessman in the suit, the college student in sweatpants, the elderly man moving slowly. Everyone received the same kindness, the same respect. I settled into my seat and opened a magazine. There, on page 43, was an article about Skywing Airlines. The headline read, "Airline revolutionizes customer service after viral incident." The article detailed the changes we'd implemented. Mandatory sensitivity training, new hiring practices, a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination. Customer satisfaction scores had jumped 30%. I closed my eyes as the plane took off. letting the vibration of the engines calm my thoughts. Change doesn't happen overnight, but it starts with refusing to accept cruelty as normal. It starts with someone caring enough to stand up, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. One flight at a time. One passenger at a time. One moment of kindness at a time. That's how you change the world. Can you believe that? Derek thought he had all the power, but Karma had other plans. Here's what I want you to do right now. If this story fired you up, smash that like button. Drop a comment telling me, have you ever witnessed someone being treated like this? What did you do? Share this video with someone who needs to remember that you never know who you're dealing with. Subscribe and turn on all notifications, because trust me, I've got more stories that'll blow your mind. Remember, treat people with kindness, not because of who they might be, but because of who you are. I'm Zoe, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay humble, stay kind,